This is a great day. You look beautiful. And we are here together. This is a great day. I welcome you to the 117th annual commencement of the Iliff School of Theology. Some of us are present here at St. Andrew United Methodist Church, and some are joining us by live stream. So wherever you are today, let us be reminded of the richness and expansiveness of our community. Wherever you are, we are together today. We acknowledge that we gather on the land of the Arapaho and Cheyenne people, and we gather in recognition of the Lenape tribal people with whom Iliff has a permanent relationship. The tobacco that is on this stand next to the podium was given to us about 3 weeks ago as a mark of the relationship that we have with the Lenape people that will be forever with Iliff School of Theology. The tobacco bound in cloth on the table here in our midst represents truth and transparency and is evidence of this mutual commitment. So congratulations to each of you in the class of 2022 who have completed your degree and who will be in a few moments walking across this platform. And we welcome also those members of the classes of 2020 and 2021 who are joining us in walking across the platform today because their commencement ceremonies were held virtually due to the pandemic. We welcome this wonderful time with all of you. I bring a special welcome to the family and friends who have traveled to this commencement and who've been traveling along with your loved one through this academic journey. We are grateful for your presence today and your support throughout. You each know what you have done. You can own that today, and so does your loved one. And I'm sure they have been telling you all along. But today we mark a special moment in this ceremony to honor and remember those who have stood alongside of. Having been one who has been stood alongside of, I know that feeling. And I know everyone who is going to receive a degree today knows that feeling. So enjoy this moment together. I also congratulate the faculty, staff, and trustees of the Iliff community. This day represents a collective work and is one that we all look forward to celebrating. Everything we as an institution hope for is summed up at this moment, on this day, each year. It is what everyone related to the school works toward, because our graduates, you, are our most significant gift to the world. We have sojourned around the sun yet one more time and find ourselves once again facing another new beginning. We come to this day feeling deep gratitude for our achievements and for the possibilities that are expressed in our imaginings and vision of the work yet to be done. So may this commencement be both a time of celebrating accomplishment, and may there be a healthy restlessness stirring among us to get at the work in a fuller way with our vocations. May we be fully awake, fully alive, fully alert to the meaning of this moment. We are grateful for the continued hospitality of St. Andrew United Methodist Church. We thank Senior Pastor, the Reverend Mark Feldmeyer, for allowing us to use this wonderful sanctuary for our commencement ceremony, and for the many staff and the congregational members' support in assisting us in all ways. Again, to St. Andrew, we say thank you. As we do every year at the opening of commencement, we will sing Iliff's centennial hymn, Where Mountains Lift the Eye. We make special recognition of this tradition this year because as we do, we want you to be aware to give thanks for the life of its author, the Reverend Reverend Dr. Tom Troger, who served on the Iliff faculty for several years and who passed away this year. So as we sing, let us remember Tom. We bring a special welcome to Iliff's courageous friend, our beloved Bishop Karen Oliveto, Episcopal leader of the Mountain Sky Conference, in which Iliff resides. Bishop Oliveto will welcome you and bring you greetings. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning. On behalf of the United Methodists of the Mountain Sky Conference, it is my honor to say, congratulations, graduates. Looking at your faces, I'm feeling a most United Methodist feeling. My heart is strangely warmed. May God bless each of you as you serve. These are difficult days. The brokenness of the world threatens the well-being of so many children, people of color, women, the very earth itself. It is for such a time as this as you are entering your life of service. Be recklessly generous with love. Dream without limits and have the courage to fail in order to make those dreams a reality. Speak truth to power, and you will know you're doing so when it costs you something, because discipleship that is faithful is always costly. Reach out to others with a tenderness that lets them know how precious they are, because with all that the world has thrown on them, they may have forgotten. We need you. We need you. So don't forget. Put on your own oxygen mask first, because we need you, precious servants of God. At this time, I invite you to stand, and I ask you to hum what you're asked to hum and not sing. So please stand for the hymn.
When mountains lift the eye above the level plain and stretch our sight towards heaven's sky, we work and pray to gain a vision of the range that rises in the mind as science, thought, and culture change how faith will be defined. We do not fear, for we believe God dreams of worlds we can't conceive.
The highest peaks are found where plates of bedrock shift. Disturbance of the solid ground is God's creative gift, who still is sculpting earth and uses that same art around the world to bring to birth new landscapes and the heart. We do not fear, for we believe God's dreams of worlds we can conceive. Those lofty, sharp-edged forms attract the clouds and rain, and with their melting winter storms revive the thirsting plain, where then burst and sprout with that same urgent force which fills a barren heart doomed out to praise life's end and source. We do not fear, for we believe God dreams of worlds we can't conceive.
As primal powers fuse earth's drifting crust and stone, the stress of many creeds and views far different from our own will not destroy belief, but make it broad and wise, and face familiar old relief. We'll see new mountains rise. We do not fear, for we believe God dreams of worlds we can't conceive.
Good morning. My name is Kelsey Cochran, and I've had the privilege to serve Iliff in the role of Vice President of Institutional Advancement. So I've been lucky enough to work with our donors and alumni community to engage and elevate support for our students, faculty, and programs, and I'm so delighted to be with you to celebrate today. I'm so happy to welcome our alumni representatives who are here with us to welcome you, our graduates, to the alumni family. We have representatives today from the classes ranging from 1962 to 2021 joining us. The community that surrounds Iliff is truly special, and the lifelong connections that our alumni hold to the institution is felt deeply by our students, our faculty, and staff. It is a great honor to recognize our alumni who have reached a special milestone, graduating 50 or more years ago, and we have a few here with us today. And we're so glad that you're here. I would welcome Reverend Don Sperber, to stand and be recognized as a representative of the class of 1962. Even 50 years later, we can see the vitality, the impact, and the love that you have for our institution. Thank you for your continued engagement and support to elevate Iliff as we celebrate our graduates who are our path to the future.
In your programs, you can find the Iliff Purpose and Vision Statement. As statements go, it's pretty good. But we, Lauren and I, wondered what the graduates make of it. So we asked them. Here, interwoven with the statement itself, are some of their responses.
Iliff is a graduate school that cultivates compassion for everyone by holding space for others' ways of being and unique experiences, and by caring for others with empathy, allowing each person to be their complete, authentic self.
It also cultivates justice through courageous imagination by using history to philosophically and theologically lay our foundations while we bravely imagine with an open, playful, faithful heart what could be.
Iliffians are activists who are trained as a community to be informed, open, and engaged, empathic agitators, change makers, boat rockers, status unquoers who balance spiritual and religious understanding and practice.
We are loving, inclusive servant leaders, caregivers who kneel to rise and justly, relationally support others and one another.
Iliffians are innovators in diverse religious communities, pastors, priests, leaders, organizers, entrepreneurs, teachers, representing over 17 unique wisdom and faith traditions, and are affirming, progressive, and hospitable.
We are innovators in secular communities, informed but open to new paths across all sectors, grounded in our theological education as we become memorable allies and conspirators.
And finally, Iliffians are innovators in academic communities. We are lifelong learners who understand the big picture and the small picture with confidence and excellence, all to support and guide our communities. Thank you. I unmasked my most vibrant, true self by pruning away all that kept me from blooming.
For me, this was an adventure of self-discovery. I have unmasked myself.
For me, I have unmasked a brighter vision, a dream for a brighter tomorrow for all.
Thank you, Iliff, and thank you, all of you. Because of your love and kindness, I was able to remove the mask that was placed upon me by high demand and shame-based religions.
Thanks to my time at Iliff, I've been able to discover a true calling to serve my community.
Four years ago, I entered Iliff as a United Methodist in hope and prayer that the church would be fully inclusive of all into the life of the church. 4 years later, I am a member in discernment of the United Church of Christ on the path towards ordination. I unmask hope.
What I've unmasked at Iliff is knowledge that the Spirit is present, healing, and trustworthy.
I have unmasked my own senses. Some examples are that I hear people's stories differently, as well as telling my own with more authenticity.
I unmasked that our bodies are sacred.
At Iliff, I have unmasked my true nature as a divine being and a relational connection to all people, that we are all divine beings in relationship with one another and with God.
Today's reading comes from Ecclesiastes 1, verses 1 through 9. The words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors, at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and then turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun.
This is a time for unmasking. Thank you. It is my privilege to introduce our speaker at this year's commencement, Dr. James Hildreth. James E.K. Hildreth, PhD, MD, President and CEO of Meharry Medical College, the nation's largest private, independent, historically black academic health science center. In the wake of our experience with the pandemic, over the last 2.5 years, and still ongoing at various levels of infection around the globe, I asked Dr. Hildreth to be our commencement speaker because of his global commitments to vaccine equity. While I have known Dr. Hildreth for many years, I got to experience firsthand his wealth of science and wisdom when, in the height of the pandemic, he accepted our invitation from the International Association of Methodist Schools, Colleges, and Universities, otherwise known as IAMSCU, to be a key panelist on IAMSCU's worldwide consultation on vaccine equity. The goal of the consultation was to empower the global community of 1,100 or more Methodist-related institutions of higher education, providing them with scientific, political, and spiritual resources to leverage in their regions around the globe actions that would promote vaccine equity. Dr. Hildreth holds an MD from Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, a PhD in immunology from Oxford University, a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Harvard University. He was selected as the first African-American Rhodes Scholar from Arkansas. Dr. Hildreth has been called a scientific hero in a National Institutes of Health publication. He is internationally recognized for his work in HIV and AIDS research over the past 3 decades. He was appointed to the FDA Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee in 2020 and was named to President Biden's COVID-19 Health Equity Task Force in 2021. This year, the Board of Directors of IAMSCU named Dr. Hildreth to receive the Almir de Souza Award for Excellence in International Scholarship. This award was established to honor scholars and professionals with a distinguished career and demonstrated outstanding contributions to Methodist education and other areas of academic endeavor promoted at IAMSCU member institutions. Iliff is an IAMSCU institution. The title of his address, as he is about to tell you, is, but I want to underscore it, it's wonderful. Do not let what you learned negate what you know. Let that settle for a minute, huh? He underscores that the process of learning is more important than knowledge you have acquired. He speaks to those elements of being human that result in ways of knowing. He is a scientist of great scholarship and a person, as you will discover, of deep personal faith, neither of which overshadows the other, but rather each deeply being part of his way of seeing the world and acting for justice. Given what we've been through in the last 2.5 years, I thought it might be helpful for us to hear from a global scholar with a global commitment, a global view, and wicked skills in immunology, who has given much of his life in the last 2 years to global equity toward vaccines. So given our experience of these past academic years, these pandemic years, let us receive Dr. James Hildreth.
President Wolf, members of the Iliff board, distinguished guests, family, friends, and to the graduates, of course, I'm extremely honored to have been asked by President Wolf to give the commencement address today. First, let me offer my congratulations to the graduates and to your families and your loved ones on this milestone achievement. Today's ceremony represents the culmination of years of commitment and hard work And no doubt for many of you, there were moments when you weren't quite sure that this day would come. But here we are, celebrating your success, sending you off to the next phase of your life's journey. Over the years, as an academic at multiple institutions, I have sat through many commencement addresses, including those in which I participated as a graduate. It is clear that very few of those speeches are remembered by graduates, and those that are most appreciated are the ones that are short and succinct. Therefore, I'm going to try to be succinct, but as a lifelong Baptist at heart, I can't make any promises. I grew up in a small town in rural Arkansas. I was born on a Thursday evening in late December 1956, and I was in White's Chapel Baptist Church the following Sunday morning, and I've been in church most Sundays since that time. In the Southern Baptist tradition, when the preacher makes a point that he thinks is particularly insightful, strong, or otherwise noteworthy, he expects the congregation to affirm as much by saying amen, or that's right, or preach, preacher. My pastor for most of my youth, Reverend Green, would call on inanimate objects in the sanctuary for affirmation, such as the pews, if he felt that the congregation was not responding as it should. However, most of the time, he would call on the lights. I must have heard him say, "Help me lights," hundreds of times over the years. When I went to Oxford as a graduate student to do my studies there, my thesis advisor's father fell ill, and he had to travel to Cardiff on short notice and ask me, his only graduate student, to give a lecture at the British Society of Immunology in London. I was terrified by the thought of doing this, but Dr. McMichael helped me get ready, and there I was standing in front of a large audience of immunologists as a first-year PhD student, delivering a talk that the scientists present were obviously deeply disappointed was not being given by the famous young, brilliant scientist, Andrew McMichael. Now, I felt I was doing a great job under the circumstances, but all the arms were folded, there were no heads nodding, and many people simply were not paying attention. Then it happened. From somewhere deep down inside, it came up and it came out. Without thinking, I raised my arms, looked up to the ceiling, and I said, "Help me, lights." Now, of course, no one in the audience had any idea what was going on, but since that moment, I've been able to give a talk to any audience, anywhere, regardless of the size or circumstance. If I were with you right now, in person, I'd expect you to be helping me by affirming the points that I'm going to make, but since we're virtual, we don't have to worry about that today. I would like to draw your attention today to the book of Ecclesiastes, the first chapter, verses 1 through 9. I'm an old school person, so I'm going to be reading from the King James Version. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. "Vanity of vanities," saith the preacher, "vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor, which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. The sun also ariseth, and goeth down, and hasteneth to the place where he arose. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to his circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from which the rivers come, thither they return again. All things are full of labor, man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. The thing that hath been is the thing that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. So I'd like to share a few thoughts with you from the theme, do not let what you learn negate what you know. All of you today will receive diplomas signifying that over the last few years, you have spent countless hours devoted to study and the acquisition of knowledge. Indeed, the process of congregating together in groups to be taught by learned scholars has been going on for a really, really long time. And in many ways, the process hasn't changed very much. For if you would like to know what pedagogy was like 2,000 years ago, you simply have to walk into any lecture hall in almost any university, close your eyes, and imagine that the lecturer is speaking Latin or Greek. You would pretty much be experiencing higher education as it happened 2 millennia ago. But what does it mean to know something, and has that changed over the last 2,000 years? And as a matter of fact, how do we know that we know? The experts tell us that 90% of all the data that humans have accumulated in all of human history was accumulated in just the last few years. The point here is that data is being accumulated at a rate that has already exceeded human cognition and our ability to process it and make use of it. That is because data is not information. Information is that which we can comprehend, use for reasoning, put into language, and share with others. Furthermore, information is not knowledge, which is commonly defined as familiarity, awareness, or understanding of someone or something that is acquired by experience and perceiving, discovering, or learning. Learning and discovery is a process you've engaged in for the last few years, with the objective to acquire knowledge sufficient to equip you to pursue those career aspirations that you have. I would have you consider that the process of learning is rather more important than the so-called knowledge that you have acquired. This latter point is extremely important for the simple fact that what we call knowledge is mutable and changes over time. Back in the day before the advent of the World Wide Web, textbooks constituted the primary tool for teaching and learning. Interestingly, textbooks in almost every field, including my own of medicine, had to be rewritten every few years because what we thought we knew turned out to be wrong. Every day it seems that a new report is issued related to cosmology, health, history, and other disciplines that calls into question what we might have considered dogma up to very recently. Today, the evolution of knowledge appears in real time right in front of our eyes on the World Wide Web. And I regret to inform you that we know with a high degree of certainty that you will forget at least half of what you've learned during your studies. And consider that we live in an age where it appears to be okay to use alternative facts. From my perspective, it almost seems like truth itself, which should be the foundation for knowledge, is under attack on several fronts. The attack on scientists, science, public health professionals, and healthcare providers during the COVID-19 pandemic is a great example. Yet another is unfolding for the whole world to witness as Russia's leader has presented alternative facts and totally repressed efforts to present the truth as a way to justify the atrocities he's visiting upon the people of Ukraine. Given these considerations, it would behoove all of us not to place too much stock in what we learn. I suggest that we rather anchor ourselves in that which we know. This brings me back to the question I raised earlier. How do we know that we know? Philosophers have identified 4 ways of knowing. The first is sense perception. We know some things because our senses confirm them for us. We see an object, we reach out, we touch it, we might even sniff it, and thus we know that the object exists. The second is logic and reason. We know some things because we can apply logic to determine that they are true. We know that 2 times 3 equals 6 by applying the rules of mathematics. The third is language. Some things we know because someone more learned than ourselves with knowledge transfers that to us through language, and therefore we know these things. This is the primary way of knowing that most of us have experienced during our years as students. All 3 of these modes of knowing serve very useful purposes, and we each have used them throughout our lives. The 4th way of knowing is most often referred to as emotion or intuition. This form of knowing appears to be hardwired into our psyche and even into our DNA. There are situations in our lives that are so complex and daunting that the only source of knowledge we can tap into to make decisions in these cases is intuition. And this, I suggest to you, is the purest and most important form of knowing. This form of knowing transcends race, gender, time, place, circumstances, and human understanding. This form of knowing does not require that textbooks be rewritten or web pages refreshed. This form of knowing disallows any form of alternative facts. And this form of knowing enables us to develop wisdom through our experiences, both our successes and our failures. I've had the privilege to attend 3 of the most prestigious universities in the world, Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and Oxford. And many people who interact with me are struck by what they perceive as unexpected humility. Unexpected, I suppose, because they believe that someone with that kind of pedigree would be arrogant, condescending, or just not nice. My answer to this is to reveal my little secret, that my humility is actually an ultimate form of arrogance because of my sense of knowing. Since I know that God has a plan for my life and that He has ordered my steps, there is no need to display anything other than Christ-like humility. I've learned physics, mathematics, philosophy, history, and many other things, all of which on some level are put forward as a way for us to understand and make sense of the physical world and to illustrate the mastery that humankind has over the physical world. But I did not allow what I learned at these amazing institutions to affect what I know. Because of my sense of knowing, I dreamed a dream as a child and was bold enough to pursue it. What I had learned about my world at that time might have made me apathetic or crippled my hopes. Because of my sense of knowing, there is no conflict in my pursuit of scientific discovery and my Christian faith. And because of my sense of knowing, I can sincerely utter the words of Job, though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. And because of my sense of knowing, my daily prayer is very simple. Lord, let your will be done in my life. Graduates, as you leave this place to start the next phase of your life's journey, by all means make use of what you have learned in its proper context. And I encourage you to be a student for life, always striving to learn because doing so will help you achieve your goals. But be reminded that much of what you learn will turn out to be wrong, and thus is not knowledge at all and cannot contribute to wisdom. But knowledge is not the point in the end. It's the learning process that equips us to deal with the uncertainties that we will all face on our life's journey. Perhaps most important, be confident in what you know and never let what you learn diminish the knowing that comes from our relationship with God. This knowing will empower you to always stand up for what is right, for what is just. This knowing will embolden you to act on God's promise as laid out in Jeremiah, the 29th chapter, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. This knowing will prepare you for the inevitable trials and hurdles along the way. And there will be trials and hurdles. But because of knowing, you can stand on the words of James, the 1st chapter, verses 2 and 3. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And I believe we can all take comfort in knowing that because God is God, as in the earlier scripture indicated, there is no new thing under the sun. And therefore, if we turn to him, there's nothing in our life that we cannot handle. Each of you, no doubt, leave this place with a purpose to change the lives of the people that you will lead, counsel, teach, or otherwise interact with. In a world so full of darkness and despair, I hope you will not be bashful in letting your light shine so that others may better find their way. I also pray that you'll embrace those things that unite us. As a life scientist, I understand that human beings are 99.999% identical, and yet the minuscule biological differences have been the cause of unimaginable suffering inflicted by humans on other humans. Indeed, today it seems that conflict abounds on a great many things that hardly seem important given the scale of issues faced by humanity overall. Bitter enmity among people of faith who worship the same God is common, and civil discourse has fallen by the wayside in many places. So as you pursue your lives and careers, I hope you'll look for ways to latch into those things that unite us all and collaborate to save the world, to make it a better world for all of us. I would like to close with a prayer. Almighty and everlasting God, we praise and thank you for the lives of these outstanding graduates and their achievements thus far. Bless each of them and their families. Wrap your arms of protection around them and give them the courage and the strength to do the work you've called them to do. And keep us ever mindful that all that we do, all that we have done, and all that we hope to do is, was, and will be by your grace and by your mercy. It is in the matchless name of Jesus, the risen Christ, I pray. Amen. Graduates, God bless you, and thank you again for the opportunity to be part of this very special celebration.
We did it, y'all. Like Dr. Hildreth, I am also Baptist, but I will be mindful. And it is with great honor and sincerest gratitude to be before you and offer the prayer to my fellow graduates. Thank you for entrusting me with this reverent opportunity. Let the divine spirit be with us. God of all creation, of the multiverse, who can't be fully figured out or limited to mere understanding of the human mind, we thank you for bringing us to this day safely. We honor the land that we stand upon and acknowledge those who were the original inhabitants of this land. Our spirits are filled with gratitude, joy, and pride. We've been blessed with the gift of Iliff and give thanks for its staff, faculty, the contributions and sacrifices of those who made this moment possible, for the assembly of activists and social change makers who built the legacy we are now a part of. May the spirit that chose us for this community endow us with the courage and open-mindedness that will be essential to the journey ahead of us. Remind us of our why, of the curiosity that brought us here, of our prophetic imagination of existing in harmony regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, beliefs, where the terms disabled, yellow, brown, queer, or Black are euphemisms for brilliant, beautiful, magical, and worthy. Remind us of our yearnings for transformed communities where hatred, oppression, misogynoir, and white supremacy don't inform our everyday lives. May we kindle the fire within that fuels passion and gives life to our ministries and endeavors. Grant us longevity and staying power. Bring us people who cheer us on, who get us, who see us, and when we get weary, that they can be a cool, refreshing gust of wind that lifts us up. Our pilgrimage at Iliff may end here, but the longest journey of our lives continues, the one from our heads to our hearts. Make healing in our mental, emotional, and physical wellness be top priority. Ground us in self-compassion. Fear not the muck and mire and the dross in our hearts. Help us to prune what no longer serves us. Keep us just close enough to our wounds, our pains, the things that jolt our hearts, so we remain humble and empathic and our work is authentic. Remind us to prioritize rest as a non-negotiable, true, meaningful rest. When life's demands feel heavy, remind us to retreat from time to time for sacred pauses, to embrace solitude and to just be. That way, our hearts can remain open and receptive to the gentle whisper of guidance. May our character always outgrow our success. We are a generation like none other. We have been prepared for something specific, for such a time as this. We are the sole generation of seminarians who have conferred degrees during a pandemic. As we go into this new world, back to our separate contexts of life, back to places where people are hurting, suffering, understanding mental illness, may we be agents of hope and healing. Let all who come in contact with us know that we embody the spirit of radical love and that the divine is with and within us. Allow our auras, our light, to shine gloriously to cast out the darkness our world has become too accustomed to. Hope always remains, and love conquers all. Gracious God, let your divine wisdom and power fall afresh upon us each and every day. Ashe and amen.
Dr. Vincent G. Harding, Professor of Religion and Social Transformation at Iliff School of Theology for 23 years. He said, "I am a citizen of a country that does not yet exist. What does that mean? We have work to do. Degrees that have been earned, those that are inspiring each of us, the village of all people, families, friends. You are empowered and you are equipped to make sure we build up a new world. Amen? And some of us may want to sit and hum, but some of us will want to stand and get to moving in solidarity today.
We are building a big new world. We are building a big new world. Oh, we are building a big new world. Builders must be strong.
Courage, siblings, don't get too weary. Courage, siblings, don't get too weary. Courage, siblings, don't get too weary. Though the way be long,
we are seeking justice for all. We are seeking justice for all. Oh, we are seeking justice for all, even through the trial. One more time again, we are building up a new world. We are building up a new world. We are building up a new world. Builders must be strong. What do we say? Builders must be strong. Let's say it again. Builders must be strong.
Amen. The graduating classes of 2020 and 2021 were awarded their diplomas in interactive virtual ceremonies in June 2020 and June 2021. We are pleased to have representatives from those two classes with us this morning doing the work on behalf of all the members of their respective classes. Representing the class of 2020, Joanna M. Douglas, MDiv. Matthew David Morris, MDiv with distinction. Linda Margaret Wolf Newell, MASJE, with distinction. Benjamin Lee Weger, MDiv. Representing the class of 2021, Daryl Jerome Walker, MDiv. Please join me in congratulating again the entire classes of 2020 and 2021.
Let's get us to the right page here.
Good morning, congratulations. My name is Andy Folkerth, and I am honored and humbled to be the chair of the Board of Trustees. Established in 1892 with the laying of the cornerstone on June 8th, the Iliff School of Theology is a freestanding, United Methodist-related theological school, legally authorized to grant master's and doctoral degrees under the authority of the Board of Trustees. As a board, we celebrate scholarly achievement, service to the church and society, and the successful completion of Iliff's academic programs. Upon the recommendation of the faculty, the Board of Trustees has voted to award the degrees Master of Arts in Pastoral and Spiritual Care, Master of Arts in Social Justice and Ethics, Master of Theological Studies, Master of Divinity, and Doctor of Philosophy, respectively, upon the persons here listed.
These are my favorite words all year. You ready? On recommendation of the faculty and by vote of the Board of Trustees of the Iliff School of Theology, I hereby confer the degrees as listed in the program with all the rights, powers, and privileges pertaining thereto, in token whereof you will be given the appropriate hood and diploma. Congratulations.
I have the privilege of presenting the candidates for the degree Master of Arts in Pastoral and Spiritual Care. Katrina L. Andrews. Margaret Mary Maylander. Meredith E. W. Parfett. Melissa Ray Poulos. Congratulations. I have the privilege of presenting the candidates for the degree Master of Arts in Social Justice and Ethics. Joelle Young McKnight. Kira Alice Williams Garcia. I have the privilege of presenting the candidates for the degree Master of Theological Studies. Anna M. Galladay, Catherine Aurelia Gonzalez, Brett Allen McCurt, Catherine Hyde Schleger, I have the privilege of presenting the candidates for the degree Master of Divinity. Cody Melissa Anderson, Peggy Alfson Anderson, Peyton Sophia Carter, Elisa L. Erickson, John William Erickson, Jr., Christina Joy Fleming, Catherine Sullivan Gold, Morgan Kendall Rickard Grayland, Jeffrey Mark Gross, Tanya Nicole Hancock, Lauren Kaylee Johnson, Alexis Jean Johns, David Deshvan Keys, Ian McClay Keys, Anna Mary Catherine Langford, Ingrid Patricia Larson, Changyun Lee, Jennifer Cubitt McCullough, Andrea Lynn Ross Murdoch, Caroline B. Pittman, Stacy Bila Plonsky, Jessica Star Radisik. Dennis Derek Sarvedra Karkin Hamachan. Melissa Kate Scott. Luana Ellen Uluave. I have the privilege of presenting the candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy. I will read each candidate's dissertation title after their name. Therefore, please wait to applaud for them until I finish reading their dissertation title. Rebecca Ann Shabbat, dissertation, Mia San Mia, Professional Club Soccer, Religion and Social Ethics. Teresa N. Christ, dissertation title, Decolonizing Interfaith Interaction, Common Humanity and Colonial Legacies. Stuart Gable, dissertation, Dehumanization in the Nazi Era, Relationship to a Modification of Freud's Death Drive. Jared Vasquez Lopez, dissertation, Identity and Resistance, Queer Puerto Rican Subjects, Pentecostalism, and the Shadow of U.S. Imperialism. Rode Shui Mola, dissertation, Refining Hegemonic and Fragmented Identities Through Subjective In-Betweenness, a post-colonial theology of care and praxis in Ethiopia's era of identity politics. Sarah A. Neely, dissertation, Criminalize the Houseless Women, Jesus, and the Praxis of Kinship, an Outsider's Liberative Ethics. Joshua Paul Smith's dissertation, Luke was not a Christian. The Jewish authorship of Luke acts in interdisciplinary perspective. Again, please join me in congratulating all our graduates, class of 2022.
Need a drink first. Congratulations, graduates. Thank you for the privilege and honor of inviting me to deliver today's charge to the class of 2022. I am mindful, too, that we are joined this day by representatives from the classes of 2021 and 2020, and some of you graduating today or processing today as representatives from the other classes and also on the live feed took history courses with me a while back in the winter and spring terms of 2019. Whether you were here already in 2019 or still discerning and finding your way to Iliff in your respective educational and professional journeys, little did we realize then how very much America and the world was going to change later that year from December of 2019 through this very day. No group of Iliff graduates nor group of graduates from our joint doctoral program with DU in recent memory have received their degrees at a more pivotal moment in history. So much grief and unexpected change, so much loss and lament have piled up in our hearts and minds from these past few years. I will not re-traumatize us at this moment by repeating or listing these challenges and losses that remain so very real in the news of the world as we gather here this morning. We do not live in ordinary times. We live in extraordinary times. The COVID-19 pandemic will forever be remembered and interpreted as the great hinge event of the past few centuries. But as I've said to you in class, sometimes humorously and sometimes seriously, history does not repeat itself, because no two historical moments are completely identical. For example, the events of September 11th, 2001 were not the same as the events at Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. And no matter how many voices wanted to compare those two disastrous events, the respective contexts were so different. But if history does not actually repeat itself, and historical wisdom does show us that there is a repetition of patterns and events going on all around us, then what exactly is repeating itself? Well, again, as I've said to you in class, despite our individual and collective amnesia, and I believe we live in an era of great and profound amnesia, the challenges human consciousness must confront across different times and places do repeat themselves. In his recent best-selling book, 10 Lessons for a Post-Pandemic World, Fareed Zakaria reminds us that in the wake of the Great Plague, known today as the Black Death, many 14th century Europeans asked why God would allow this hell on earth and questioned entrenched hierarchies, which had the ultimate effect of helping Europe break out of its medieval malaise and setting in motion the Renaissance, the Reformation, and other movements. We've heard it said a lot these past few years: in order to heal, we must remember. But what exactly are the things we must remember? And what exactly are the things we must heal from? We've heard this phrase so many times, and yet the word healing has appeared in the news and printed sources, in popular culture, and across all social media platforms millions and millions of times over the past 27 months. Today we've heard the word from you and from several of our speakers already a few times. But there are other life-affirming words that we have heard. Words such as resilience, justice, inclusion, communal belonging, civic trust, integration, and innovation. And the return of older phrases too, such as civic virtue and caring for the common good. And indeed, I too believe that in order to heal, we must remember. But in order to heal, we must also have the courage to imagine and bring into existence new ways of working together for the common good that restore trust. I've been reading a fascinating book lately by the award-winning writer Rebecca Solnit, published in 2009 and yet very timely today. The book is titled A Paradise Built in Hell: The Extraordinary Communities That Arise in Disaster. They could have been written in the past 24 months. Solnit asks her readers to consider, who are we when everything goes wrong? Think about that. How is it possible that sometimes the wonderful comes wrapped in the terrible? Her words, not mine. She reflects on the same set of paradoxes that scholars from different fields of study and historians like myself have examined across the pages of time, namely the conundrum that in the midst of hell on earth, sometimes as a consequence, we witness the suspension of the usual order and the failure of most systems. And it is at those moments that we are freed to live and act in another way. This is not to romanticize the old theological ideas about redemptive suffering, as marginalized communities and individuals of many different identities and traditions have often had this view projected onto their unnecessary sufferings by their oppressors and overlords. But it is a way of reminding ourselves in our moment in time, your moment in time, dear graduates, that some of the side effects of the present era, although arising amid devastation and loss of life, will become openings or occasions for a new vision, convergent moments for justice and empowerment, for innovation and integration, and for the restoration of wholeness, which is another way of saying healing. And that's where you, dear graduates, come into this story of remembrance and restoration. The world needs you. It needs you as the heralds of a new vision, one that is not mired in the old order, nor in the world's pernicious systems of exclusion, exploitation, and domination. May lifelong learning and a sense of curiosity and wonder, solidly grounded in courageous theological imagination, be forever a part of your future. As sung in the Iliff hymn, we do not fear, for we believe God dreams of worlds we can't conceive. While not all of our graduates identify as Christian, I could not deliver this charge without reminding us that we gather here today on the cusp of Pentecost Sunday, right? As this weekend, Christianity commemorates its birthday, some of the greatest turning points in the history of Christianity have been set in motion within this current week, of which today is Friday, and especially within the first 2 to 4 days after Pentecost. That was true for John Wesley, as it was true for his brother Charles a year before him. Restless, breathless, and fearing for their lives, the first Christian community found its breath and its voice on that first Pentecost. So may the sacred fire, the mighty winds, and the living waters of this approaching day of remembrance add to your inspiration on this occasion. Go forth and never forget nor fail to discern and listen to that unknowing knowing, most sacred, indivisible, unquenchable voice that resides in each of you. For you have been called forth for works of compassion and leadership and social justice activism that many of you are already doing or that you will do in the years ahead. And a little medieval incantation, may legions of light under the shadow of divine wings protect you always. I left out the Christocentric parts of that. Comforting you when needed and grounding you in that magical space between your mind and your heart. And always remember that there is no substitute for a tough intellect and a resilient mind wedded to a tender and compassionate heart. Go forth, speaking words of healing and transformation to the world and carrying out works of mercy and justice on behalf of the common good. Again, you are the heralds of a new world, the heralds of a new vision. Diplomatically, though, you may have to bite your tongue sometimes, but beware of being silent for too long, because the blood's not all you'll drink. If those are vague words, seek not to clear them. Go forth, ignite the human spirit, and free the captives from the shame of not being treated with love and dignity for who they are or for whom they choose to love. Thank you all for all that you have given and taught us. I say that from our faculty, staff, administrators, and trustees. For it is so true that my colleagues and I have also learned from you, dear graduates. An exhausted, restless, wounded world struggling to breathe needs your courageous imagination, your service, and your prophetic leadership. Blessings and much love upon each of you, your partners, your families and friends, and on your life's work. And since we call this the charge to the graduates, Godspeed, good luck, and go get them. Thank you.
I'm ready to get out there, y'all. My name is Melissa Scott, and I have the honor of representing this graduating class in responding to our charge. Thank you so much, Dr. Hernandez, for that incredibly moving call as we prepare to begin our next chapters. Not every graduating class chooses to respond to the charge or to issue a charge back to the school during this ceremony. But the graduating class of 2022 felt that it was important to acknowledge our unique position in the history of Iliff and to express our hope for you as a community moving forward. As was noted earlier, this graduating class consists of many of the last students who remember a pre-COVID Iliff. In the last 2 years, we have watched our community make courageous and difficult decisions to keep us safe, to cancel gathering days and in-person classes in favor of safer online connection. We have been grateful for those decisions and the mindfulness with which they were made as the COVID-19 pandemic evolved. We have celebrated the innovative ways we have found to build a community and continue our educational experiences in the face of the unique challenges of our time. And at the same time, we have grieved over and over the lost opportunities to gather. We have grieved all the missed hugs and handshakes, for the eye contact that can't be replicated over Zoom, for the walk and talks between classes, for the conversations that extend from class to lunch or dinner and beyond, for worship services in the chapel, and chance conversations in the hallway with a professor. We have grieved the relationships we could have built in person, even as we recognize the wisdom of our ongoing social distancing. While we have learned and grown so much during our time at Iliff, we have grieved that we have not had the in-person educational or communal experiences we have dreamed of as we began our Iliff journeys. And so, as we accept our charge from you and welcome our next steps beyond this institution, and as we collectively explore a world in which COVID-19 is no longer an acute crisis, but an ongoing reality to be managed, the only thing this graduating class wants for you, the Iliff community, is to gather as you are able. At the same time, we recognize that we cannot charge you to gather because we don't know what the future of this pandemic holds. Rather, we, the graduating class of 2022, want to bless your gathering. As you welcome a new incoming class in September and look ahead to the possibility of gathering days in October and February and April and beyond, we bless you as you find your way back to safe, healthy, in-person community once again. We bless your travel to campus, whether you live across the street or across the country. We bless your hugs and your handshakes. We bless your walk and talks and your conversations that extend from class to dinner and beyond. We bless the peals of laughter outside of Shattuck Hall. We bless your boxed lunches shared on the patio. We bless the in-person small group conversations that veer from the intended topic, not that we ever did that, and somehow lead to life-giving insights. We bless the raising of your voices in the chapel, your whispered conversations at the library circulation desk, the eye contact that cannot be replicated over Zoom, and all the ways that the divine shows up in those small moments. We bless all of the relationships you build as you come together in person once again, as our collective circumstances allow. The only thing we charge you with is to not take your gathering for granted, to see as sacred every new student who enters the doors of Iliff for the first time, to feel spirit with you when you gather, to celebrate each moment of togetherness as a holy moment with renewed gratitude, because we know now that such gathering is never guaranteed. Of course, we cannot charge you to go back to the way things were before COVID-19 shaped our reality, and so we charge you to find new ways to come together and to always give thanks for that gathering. Our time at Iliff has helped us develop the skills to meet the unique challenges of this moment in history with flexibility, grace, and courage, and we know that you will do the same. Whether it happens in person, on Canvas, or on Zoom, being together is in the DNA of what it means to be an Iliffian. And as we, the graduating class of 2022, prepare to step forward from this space into whatever comes next, we give thanks for all that we are taking with us and all that you will do in the future together. Thank you.
we are a circle within a circle with no beginning and never ending. We are a circle within a circle with no beginning and never ending. Draw the circle wide.
Draw the circle wide.
No one stands alone, no, we'll stand side by side.
Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide.
Draw the circle wide.
No one stands alone, no, we'll stand side by side.
Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. Draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide.
Draw the circle wide.
Draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. Draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide.
Draw the circle wide.
'Cause no one stands alone, no, we stand side by side. So draw the circle
wide. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle. Draw the circle.
It is an honor for me to be given this benediction to the class of 2022. Go forth, Iliffians. Go forth into a world full of pain, suffering, and fear. Uphold justice where injustices abound. In difficult times, let courageous imagination be your guide. Serve with integrity. Embrace hopelessness, attending to the oppressed and dispossessed who are all around. Create a culture of change. Start revolutions. At times, you will have to struggle with nonviolence. Hold on to an unbending determination that values human dignity. Seek comfort in times of grief, healing from traumas you've endured. Attend to the power of your body, heeding the wisdom from within. I wish for more days like this. Go forth, building a new world.
The ceremony is concluded.